How's it going, everybody? I am Kyle from Fantasy Forge Studios, and we are back with session 48 of Wilderland Adventures, our AME campaign, Lord of the Rings campaign setting, taking place in Middle-earth, taking place between the years of the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Very excited to be back with this campaign. It's been, 3 weeks at this point, and we're finally back. We are joined right now with two of our players. One of them will hopefully be joining us a little bit later, as he tends to run a little bit later on these nights. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce the two players that we have right now. If Theodric does join us, I can have him introduce when there's a good time for us to introduce him. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and start with Jessamine Sackville-Backins.
That's me. Hi, guys. My name is Leah, or SpiderFan33 in Twitch chat, and I play our resident hobbit, Jessamine Sackville-Backins. She is a crystal girly, for better or worse. She likes cooking and has a very complicated relationship with her cousin Bilbo Baggins. Yeah, I think that's it.
I like it. Absolutely.
Is it really that complex? Isn't it just, I don't like you?
Yeah, she doesn't like him. Yeah.
Yep.
But, like, she'll use the fact that she's related to him if other people like him as well. So, like, it's a little bit complicated. I don't think it's that straightforward.
It's tough, famous family members that get on your nerves. It is what it is. But awesome. Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and jump to the left as Dom has just joined us. Yes. Feel free to introduce yourself and your character.
Hey everybody, it's that Toby Australian. If you're old hand at the channel, you've probably seen me around. And if you're new, welcome. I'm one of the mods here. You'll probably see me in chat from time to time. But I play Theodric Grimborn. He is our young slayer of Rohan. He is 18 and he is traveling the world to try and get answers to the curse of his bloodline, or the gift of his bloodline. I don't know, the weird things that are happening because of his bloodline. He's been doing some soul searching, doing some normal searching, and right now he's happy to just vibe with his friends and do whatever they want to do because he's in no rush. Unlike me, who got your message while I was at the shopping center getting snacks, and I've seen the message and I'm like, oh, D&D's tonight. Whoops.
No worries. I've actually that was very good. You slide and just right in the right size and everything. I was like, oh, nice.
I forgot to unmute myself, but I was here a little earlier and I went, aha, when you said he's not here. And then I was like, oh, I'm muted still and everything. And I had to reattach my microphone, reattach my microphone and get my webcam up and everything. And I was like, damn, that would have been such a smooth entrance.
That would have. It was still smooth anyways, regardless. But glad you're here. Glad you could make it. And then we have our last player character, Feanor.
Hey guys, I'm Nick Allothercrest in the chat. I play Feanor, one of our slayers. I'm a Mirkwood elf. We're on the next stage of this journey. It's going to be very interesting seeing where we go now that we're at Bjorn's house. Yes, let's hope it's a good session. Good to be back after 3 weeks.
I know, it's crazy. I was here last week with last week? Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week with the others for Eriador Adventures, and I was like, whoa, this is weird doing this in the morning. I don't know how I'm going to get used to it, because I have all day to prepare on Wednesdays for this when we're doing it. But yeah, here we are at evening. I'm plenty awake, and we're going to go ahead and jump in. But I'm Kyle. I am the lore master. I both play with and against these players as they make their names known throughout Wilderland and Middle-earth on a broader scale. As I had mentioned, this is a campaign that takes place between the years of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And so Smaug has already fallen, and they are in a time of relative peace. However, there is elements of shadow that have begun to creep back into the world after the banishment of the necromancer and the dragon has fallen from the mountains. This group of unlikely adventurers had met a while ago, some of them longer ago than others, but they have banded together to try to dispel any of the shadow that is within Wilderland. They had just completed a fellowship phase, an extended one called a Yule phase, where they all went their separate ways to kind of figure out what's going on in the world, complete the tasks that they were personally set out to do, either by themselves or by others, mostly by themselves. And then they explored all the way as far as Bree to Tyrant's Hill and then up to the Vales of Gundabad. Upon coming back together at the Easterland, they celebrated Jess's birthday, and Jess had also previously had met a little bit of foreshadowing Beorn during her fellowship phase, and so she was explaining everything. Everybody was explaining everything that they had gone through, and they had decided to make way towards Mountain Hall, as this is where Lord Mogdred of Tyrant's Hill asked where the weapon supply convoys are, because those are missing, unfortunately. And they haven't been quite as frequent or even coming at all. And so while they were on their journey down southward to, I guess I could pull up the map. That might be a little useful. But as coming from the Easterly Inn, which is like right here, as they were traveling southward towards Mountain Hall down this way, they had encountered right around this area a boat. And this boat was... well, it had 2 dead bodies in it. And upon investigation, upon discovering, they found out a few tidbits of information, which actually I'm going to have my players go ahead and explain the things that they had found out about this boat. You can use your notes, whatever, talk with yourselves, but let's remind everybody else that is watching what you had discovered.
Well, I
He's
think,
only saying this because he doesn't remember.
yeah,
He did
yeah,
not write it down in his notes.
yep, that's totally what happened. We didn't do this to ourselves.
So we searched the boat, but we discovered that it had already been searched through by someone else, and we also found slashed ropes, from which we surmised that these 2 people were carrying a prisoner. We discovered that one of the bodies in the boat was Merovich, which was Bjorn's right-hand man, and his sword was actually missing, and it's a very fancy sword. And for a little Easter egg for you viewers, and like for the players as well, I guess, Merovich was also the one who guided Jessamine back to the Easterly Inn when she had finished wintering at Tyrant's Hill. So... yeah, we did find tracks leading away from the boat, which led to a spear through 2 orc bodies, which we gathered had been left by the prisoner. But the bodies in the boat had actually been killed by orc arrows. So it seemed like they got attacked by orcs, and the prisoner used it as an opportunity to escape.
Pretty thorough. Any of you guys have anything else to add to that?
It seemed pretty conclusive from what we'd been able to find.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of pursuing tracks that we saw going south and potentially catching this prisoner, we decided to take the bodies of the Bjornings back to Bjorn's Hall, so they could actually be put to rest.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And not just sitting on the side of the lake.
letting crows pick at them.
Yeah, getting picked up by crows.
Yeah.
Nobody's got time for that. That's disgusting. But the group did eventually find their way back to Beorn's house, a place that actually none of them have ever visited before. It's relatively hidden within the Anduin Vales, but they did know that if I believe this was something that Merovich or even Beorn probably would have said to Jess, is during 6 p.m. at sunset, basically the Carrick, which is a giant pillar of stone that's in the middle of the Anduin, will point in the direction of Beorn's house. And so they made their way back up northward with the bodies to the Carrick, to where they waited until 6, and it pointed them to the direction of the house. It is sunsetting at this point. It is spring, so the days are getting longer. And as they make their way into this very beautiful homestead, as I had mentioned previously, there's this a giant kind of almost like bush-like fence that's around the property, but off in the distance, kind of at the center of this property, there's this huge lodging hall. And as Nim, Baradorok, and our players make their way through, they are greeted by a number of dogs, probably numbering 11 or 12 of them, just come rushing out. There are all kinds of different breeds of dogs, of various sizes, and they zoom right past our players, and they look into the boat as if sniffing something familiar. A moment or two passes before the dogs finally realize what is going on, and they start howling these deep, depressing cries as they lament the death of these two Beornings, Maravich and this unknown Beorning. And so, with that, players, you make your way in. This homestead it's quite large in scale compared to some of the homesteads that you've seen, and there are a number of buildings that are here. Some look like stables, some look like homes or guest houses, you're unsure, but definitely the most impressive feature is the central hall that is erect right at the center of this homestead. It's mostly flat and a lot of grazing land. I'm going to have the three of you make perception checks for me.
I only got a 6. That's a good start to the session.
It's okay, no worries. Group
I
checks
got
are
an
nice.
8.
Okay.
I got a 15.
Okay. You look around, but you don't see anybody immediately. In fact, what you actually notice there is a plethora of livestock that just seem to be just wandering and grazing on the property throughout. One of the things specifically, Feanor, that you notice is a deep buzzing in your ear as this giant, like stone-sized creature flies past your head. You're able to just pick out what it is, and it is the largest bee you have ever seen in your life. Personally, for me, I would be freaking the heck out. But this does fly towards the direction of Beorn's Hall. As you look around, you can actually see that the grounds and the many flower beds and whatnot are dotted with these large bees, but they do not seem particularly interested in you as you make your way here. What are you all doing as a group in this moment?
Can we see people? Like, where they're Beornings around?
There are no people, only wildlife, from what you can tell.
Okay. Holy crap! As the bee flies past. Oh,
What?
Jesus! Oh my lord. Okay. Was that a bird? Anyway, I think maybe we should head towards the main hall. I can't see anyone around. Even my elven eyes do not even allow me to see in this dimming light. If I had to bet, that's where everyone would be.
Yeah, it sounds like a safe bet.
I am concerned that the dogs have been howling and no one has shown up, though.
That is a little strange.
He might not be home. Does
Does he just him? Is he the only one that lives here?
I don't know. I've never been here before.
I mean, there are a
But
lot of
you've met
houses
him.
for just one person, right?
Yeah,
He's not exactly a sociable guy. He's a bear half the time.
Yeah. Anyway, let's head up to the main house and we'll see.
You do so, and as you continue to move forward a little bit, and this boat drags behind you, the dogs, they are no longer looking in and sniffing, but they follow almost obediently behind you, like you're leading this pack of dogs towards the center of the homestead. As I had mentioned, it's quite large and expansive, and so as you walk, your mounts walk up there, it probably takes you a solid 3 or 4 minutes before you actually approach the center of this homestead.
Sweet. Fana wants to be taken notice of like what flora and fauna are around. Like obviously he can tell that these are probably either A, domesticated, or B, wild and just allowed to kind of live around here. But other than stuff like the beehives and stuff, what other things can he see? Can he see like tanning, like leather tanning setups? Like what production value does like this place provide?
First, I'm gonna have you make a nature check.
Okay.
I'm just gonna keep my eyes peeled for any sign of Bayons or like
Sweet. I got a 9.
other life.
From what you can tell, Feanor, a lot of this flora is not familiar per se to you, but it does look wild. A lot of these flowers is kind of difficult to tell whether they're weeds or actually flowers. But the one thing you do notice is it's wild but finely kept. There's not a lot of like undergrowth with these. They're like standing up flowers as if it is maintained to a degree. It's not completely wild. So
Almost like a lawn of wild grass.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
As you look around, you do notice that directly to your. Actually, I can go ahead and just pull this up for you guys. We get Beorn's house. So as you make your way up to the front gate, you can see a number of basically these pastures, and there are built essentially hives, as it like a beekeeper's like nests, big wooden crates where these bees seem to be taking their honey, but it's literally scattered throughout the property, and so you can see that there's a humming as the bees are beginning to return for the evening there, but directly to your right as you begin to approach, in this area is a large barn. This has, from what you can tell, a bunch of baying sheep that are coming from out in that direction, and there are many cows that are actually themselves walking towards this as if guiding themselves back for the evening. If you look to your left directly, you see a stables, essentially. And these have all kinds of horses. None of the horses that are there are roped up by any means. They're not tied up or anything, but they seem to be laying down. And as you pass, some of them lift their heads up and just stare at you. They don't seem to get up or come to approach. You can tell that there are a few openings in these stables for potentially you to store your animals if you want to do so, and from what you can tell, that's all you can see at the moment. It's kind of hard to make out any specifics there, but you don't see any things like tanning, anything that are being tanned.
Yeah.
Mostly you might think that these are probably behind the main property of the house. But Theodric and Jess, the two of you, as you look around, you don't spot any signs of humans. And as you, humans, dwarves, elves, anything like that, Beornings, I'm going to have the two of you make perception checks for me.
Can I also look out for bears as part of that?
Of course.
Awesome.
I got
18.
Okay. Theodric, the one thing that you do notice as you look back is you see that the dogs seem to have their eyes glued on you specifically.
Not good.
Wait, why? Why me? Theodric's just going to turn to Feanor and be like, "Hey, do you know what happened the last time dogs took an interest to me? They led me to a pack of cannibals up in the north of Gundabad."
Well, okay.
Ew,
Hear
why? Ew!
Hear me out. This is an important question. Can an elf eat a dwarf and it not be cannibalism? Like, because technically we're not the same.
Why? Why do you want to know that? No,
Well,
why would we
Theodric
anything
brought it
no,
up, and
no,
it's just
stop.
making me think about like the physiology of the different. Because if he went to a pack of cannibals, that's fine. Would they eat an elf, or is it just human specific?
I feel like they would eat a lot of things that shouldn't be eaten, and I have to agree with Jessamine on this one, that this is a conversation that we should table for another day.
Yeah, probably.
And Theodric, with that, is going to stride forward to the door of the main hall and just kind of knock pretty loudly.
You dismount your steed and you make your way up. And as you do so, Jess, you're looking around for any signs of bears, people, anything like that. And you don't see anything. However, there is a patch of what looks to be trampled down weeds, flowers, and you can see giant, basically 5 claw marks that look roughly about the same size as a giant bear form Beorn. Upon investigating it, without actually going up and looking at it, it does look relatively old, almost as if it had been dug in there some time ago, maybe during like some of the rains that were there. But things are starting to dry up. It's no longer raining, so yeah, there's that. But you knock very loudly on the door, Theodric. Are you gonna say anything or just knock on the door?
Hello. We're looking for Beorn, or any of the Beornings at this point, really.
I'm gonna have you make a persuasion or intimidation check. Intimidation, not to like intimidate, but for force, if you want to do so.
I'm just gonna go with persuasion.
Okay.
That's an 8. I'm
An
gonna
8.
stop using those dice. Jesus.
With that, you knock, you bang on the door, and you call out, "Is anybody there?" And it takes a moment, but you can hear after about a minute some feet rushing actually quite rapidly towards the door, and you see the door get pulled open, almost this giant door, very easily by a woman. She looks relatively young in her years, and her hair is tied all up and then in one long single braid. As she looks to all of you, and she stands very close to Theodric's height, but towers above both Feanor and Jess. As she looks around and she sees, and you can hint that there is confusion in her eye. In her hand, she is holding a spear, and she looks to all of you and she says, "Beorn's not expecting anybody. What business do you have? Speak."
We found a couple of your people dead on the side of a lake.
We found
thought
Maravich's body.
We thought we'd bring them here, talk to Beorn, so you guys could bury them, give them whatever last rites your people have, that kind of thing. Felt mean to just leave them on the side of a lake for the crows or something.
She kind of stands on her tiptoes and tries to look around the horse and Nim, Baradrock and Nim, and she sees that there is a boat indeed that is being dragged. And she looks at all of you and she says, "Let me take a look for myself." And she steps past you and walks down behind the beasts. And she looks into the boat, and you can see that just her face goes completely pale as she just like stares down at them. I have a question. Did you remove the arrows from them, or did you keep the arrows embedded? I don't remember.
We removed them.
Okay.
Well, we removed one, but I imagine to make them look more presentable, we removed the rest while we were investigating.
I think what we also would have laid like something over the top of them just so they weren't.
Yes, we did. I do remember us actually cleaning them up a little bit because
when we pulled them onto the bank, we made them a little bit more presentable. Because we weren't sure if we were just going to bury them there or take them back.
Yeah. She lifts up the blankets and her face goes white, and she puts it back down, and she stares kind of like hollowly for a moment. And as she looks back up to you, and she says, "Who are you?"
Well, I'm Theodric Grimborn. That's Jessamine Sackville Baggins, and my elvish compatriot over there is Feanor. And we're just kind of adventurers, wanderers.
We hail from the Easterly Inn.
I mean, she does. I hail from Rohan, and Feanor is from
Mirkwood. Yes. I believe she's saying that we set off on our journey.
I mean, technically, I still set off from Rohan.
What I was trying to iterate is that we are known at the Easterly Inn. I've actually met Beorn before. We had a nice little road trip. I've met Maravich too. I am devastated to see this happen to him, and I promise you If there's anything we can do to like help catch his killer, we will do it.
Make a persuasion check for me.
Oh yeah.
Making a lot of big promises for the. No, I don't actually say that.
Small person making big promises.
I got an 8, baby.
She takes another moment as she carefully places the cloth over the boats, and you can see that she bends down and she whispers to the dogs. The dogs immediately disperse, all in different directions, as if set to do some kind of specific task.
Oh god, that's not ominous.
And as they do, you can see some of them run out the front gate. A few of them go to other places within the confines of this area. As she steps back up to the front and steps in front of you, kind of blocking your entry into Beorn's hall. She says to you, "Interesting. So you can say that you are adventurers coming from an inn, the Easterly Inn."
Yeah. I had to get out before I heard that man say, that hobbit say Bilbo Baggins one more time. I couldn't handle it.
That name is well known around these parts. Yes.
Yeah, Sadrak lives there. It's a whole thing. Yep.
No doubt you come seeking a reward for these bodies.
Honestly, we were just kind of bringing them here so they could be laid to rest. Like,
I mean, a reward would be
Yeah,
nice.
but
No, Jess, mine.
What?
no. If there are thanks that you Bjornings would like to give to us, then we will accept them. But that was not the purpose, like our intention. Bring.
She looks to all of you. Her face looks confused. As she looks each of you in the eye separately, and she goes back and forth, and she says,
Does she crouch down to me, my level? Or
No, she just stands there and just like looks down.
She stares me down.
I'm so glad I'm on them. I've got that advantage.
She looks at all of you, and she turns around and she says, "But one moment, I will summon the lord of this place." As she, boom, closes the door again effortlessly in front of you, and you are left alone in the front. Doors closed in front of you. Is there anything you want to do in this moment as you wait?
Yeah, Theodoric's gonna turn to Jessamine and just be like, "Jess, not exactly good form to be like, yeah, rewards, please," when somebody's staring at the bodies of
she
their kin."
offered. She offered.
No, she
Thank
asked.
you.
She asked, and it sounded more like an accusation to my ears. Are you doing this for a reward? Yes, please. No, that's not what we.
We
I'm
should.
just saying that if Jessamine died, I wouldn't rock up to the Shire with her corpse and be like, "Hey, Bilbo, money, please." Like,
Yeah,
If you can get built, honestly, I give you permission to do that. If you think
yes,
you can
but I
get
wouldn't.
money out
It's
of
not the
Bilbo,
thing that you should be
I
doing.
give you full,
Okay.
unbridled consent.
Okay. Hear me out. Honestly, all we're after is like a bed and a place to sleep for the night, right?
Yes.
Honestly, we can leave right now. It doesn't make much of a difference.
Yeah, I'm kind of just here to drop the bodies off, be like, we didn't murder them, bury them well.
Well,
bye.
we should tell them everything that we've discovered, and they probably will search us for his sword. So
Well, we don't have it, so they're welcome to.
yeah.
I'm curious what she said. She said she'd summoned the lord of this place, but she also said Beorn wasn't here. So who exactly is she getting?
I mean, she might be summoning Beorn to come here from wherever he is.
Yeah, off doing bear stuff, coming back here to do man stuff.
Send a dog to find him. I mean, Shadrach found us pretty easily at Roscabel.
Yeah, honestly, that was crazy, wasn't it?
Right? So I'm
sure that they're not magic.
I'm sure
They're
one of these
magic.
magic dogs can go find Beorn pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I'm
if they could fly.
Someone confirmed to me, at least, that they were at least some kind of magic. I asked him if he could fly. He didn't say no.
That doesn't bode well.
Yeah, well, he said we should
Flying-
ask the eagles, so I think we should put that on our list of things to do.
Yeah, so we'll have to make sure.
If we ever come across eagles on our adventures,
Yes.
if it comes up organically.
Yeah. Well, no, Fainal, while we're talking, is going to dismount Nim and probably untie
The boat.
The boat. Because
Yeah.
look, let's be honest. If a bunch of giant bear people show up, they can probably drag the boat perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But like taking off what ropes that we had used and giving him a bit of a brush down, pulling up some of this wild grass and giving him a rub down while we wait.
Yeah, you do so, and probably about 5 minutes passes. You chat amongst yourselves and whatnot, and the doors open yet again as this woman, she addresses all of you, and she says, "Apologies for the wait. Lord Beorn is... well, he was taking a nap.
Ah,
That's fair.
yeah.
You said
It is.
you said you were friends of his. You have met his, and I had
Gest-
informed him of
gesturing,
so.
yeah.
I have.
Gesturing to Jess, the small one has.
I have informed him that friends of his are here to see him, and because of that, he has agreed to meet with you. I told him a little bit of your situation, of our current situation, and he's interested to hear your side of the story. Please do follow me. And I'm sorry for sorry for the rude introduction.
3 armed strangers just showed up at your home with the corpses of 2 of your friends. It's fine. No need to apologize. Like, we understand.
My name is Inalda. I'm a shield maiden here, and I serve as Beorn's left hand.
How do you spell that?
Ennalda. Inalda.
Nice.
And she says, I serve as Beorn's left hand, and clearly he's without his right. Dark days indeed, as she mutters to herself as you enter. You can see, you enter the hall on this great big long hall. It's actually very reminiscent, Feanor, of Amelioda's long hall, but less grandiose. I mean, it's bigger in scale, but there's not as much decoration and whatnot. It's very simple as you make your way in.
Yeah.
There's a fire that's burning in the middle, and there's a like a pot that's hanging, huge cauldron hanging from the rafters over this fire, and you can smell something meat, some kind of stew cooking as you make your way in. And you see a very disheveled Beorning emerge from one of the halls off to the left, and he ducks his head to make his way through the hallway as his hair is all shaggy and askew, and he is putting on a giant cloak of fur as he makes his way over. He's rubbing his eyes and yawning as he makes his way to the chair, and he sits down, and as he does so, you can feel this vibration go through the floor, just boom, as he sits, and he looks just like with his eyes just very, very glazed over, and he says, Inalda, who have you brought before me? And as he yawns, it's just like this bear. As he looks,
as he's doing that, Theodric just slowly reaches over and pushes Jess to the front of the group.
I'm glad you did it because I was about to.
This is a
Oh my God,
monster of a man.
You went at the same time, just shove Jess.
No, just
Why'd you
gently.
plenty of-
Not like a
Just
shove,
gently shove
gently,
Jess. like,
gently
to the
guiding
front.
her to the front
My
of the group.
God.
Admittedly, it's not that much of a front because I've still got like 5 feet of clearance above you. Like,
Yeah.
Inalda, she gestures to have a seat at the long table, and so 2 of you can sit on one side, 1 on the other. But Beorn is going to be over to your side, whichever one you pick, left or right.
okay,
Cool. I'll go to the left.
okay.
I'll sit on one side.
Theodric will sit on the right. There we go, Jessamine. Pick your favorite.
Yes, the toughest decision of the session.
This is tough. I'm gonna roll a d4 to decide.
Flip a coin.
I'm too much of a coward. I don't have a coin. They're
Ah.
all in my piggy bank. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
odds it's Fane or evens it's Theodric.
Oh, shoot. I was gonna do the opposite. Okay. It's odds.
Okay.
I go to that side.
And as you sit down, Beorn, he's looking around, and he picks up a wooden cup from the side of his table. From what you can tell, this is probably leftover from earlier in the day or the day before, and he takes a big swig of it and just sets it down, and he's like, "What time is it?" And as he adjusts his eyes, it takes but a moment, and before there's recognition that comes into his face. Oh, if it isn't Jessamine Sackville Baggins.
You remembered. I'm touched.
Indeed, it's not very often that I am accompanied by such lovely company.
Oh, stop it. You just like my cooking.
That too.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've been informed that you are here in possession of something that is important to me. I have heard nothing more than that. Why are you here? And he reclines as he looks to the rest of everybody.
Okay. Well, in possessions.
Well, just can I...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll look beyond. I really wish we could have seen each other again under more pleasant circumstances. But as it is, me and my friends were on our way to Mountain Hall when we came across Maravich and one other Beorning, which none of us recognized. He had been slain by orcs, the both of them. It looked like that they were, from what we were able to surmise, it looked like they were escorting a prisoner of some sort that escaped, and we didn't find Maravich's sword near the area. We think it must have gotten taken as well.
Grim tidings. And there's no hint of sleepiness in him anymore. He is fully listening to what you have to say.
Yeah. I'm very sorry. I knew Maravich. He seemed like a person with a beautiful soul and very loyal. I think we will all feel this loss.
He takes a moment to respond as he kind of gazes into the fire. This is going to be an official audience. So with that being the case, first and foremost, I'm going to have you, Jess, make a history check for me. I'm going to have you make 2 checks. The first one is going to be a history check.
Beautiful, because I've been rolling so well tonight. Okay. No pressure. It's a 12.
The one thing you do remember from your time with Beorn, and this is something that, while this hall isn't opulent, it is grand. And so you feel kind of almost like this sense of reverence, especially as he sits in his chair. It's not a throne, it's just a very large chair out in front of you, like almost like you should be treating him with fealty. But the thing that you are quickly brought to realize is one of the things that he absolutely hates is flattery and courtesy that are just like honeyed words. He doesn't like people just being kind to get by. He likes people to be just straight with him. That's very much how he speaks. So that's something that, as going into this conversation, you kind of remember that this is kind of the way that he wants to be addressed. But I'm going to have you make a traditions check. So this is going to be the kind of the introduction check. So this will be an introduction of your companions as they have not been introduced yet, but also kind of a culmination of the news that you have just given him to. So traditions check.
How badly could this go? Pretty badly.
If there is
I
anybody
can't
who
give inspiration
wants...
to myself, can I?
Nope. If there's anybody who wants to give inspiration if they have points, I'm sure
It
now's
could get worse, but not much worse, I'm gonna say.
Okay, wait a second. Where's my
Oh,
points?
Britt
no,
just gave...
Britt got it.
Hey!
For the rescue!
Britt
yeah,
coming
I'm gonna
in
use
clutch.
the trading day, obviously.
We love you, Britt.
That was invisible.
Hopefully
Brit
pays
is
off.
my savior right now. Okay. 11.
11. As you tell this news, you can tell that Beorn, there's a hint of sadness in his eyes. This is something that you haven't seen. You've seen him as strong, proud, and curious, inquisitive, even joyful at times, but you have yet to see sadness on this man's face, and it doesn't fit his face very well. If you want to go ahead and introduce your companions, you can do so now.
Yeah. Bayon, I know this probably hits you hard, but these are my friends, Theodric's rider from Rohan, and Thanor's an elf from the Woodland realm. We managed to get back Dindy when he was trapped, surrounded by goblins on the Highland Pass. If you need us to go after this prisoner, I'm sure we'd be more than willing to undergo such a mission.
You spoke of these two, but there was a third one too. Where is he?
Valineth remains in Eriador. He has a personal mission to search for his father. He elected not to return to the Easterly Inn in spring.
First things first. I must apologize to the two of you, Theodric, Fëanor. I'm deeply sorry that our first introduction is under such circumstances. But I do know Jess. And I know the kind of company she likes to keep. I trust you. As long as you don't give me a reason not to. And he looks very seriously at the two of you.
Yeah, that seems fair.
I like it. Straightforward.
Yeah, it's an honor to meet you. Every Bjorning that I've seemed to run into so far has been an excellent warrior, and I've heard great things about you as well from the Battle of the Five Armies. Are you really as impressive as they say?
Theodric just kind of rolls his eyes.
No, this is Fëanor's genuine, this is one of the most powerful warriors that he's heard about in Middle-earth. That's not an elf, specifically, so he's genuinely curious.
I'm going to have you make a persuasion check for me. And it's going to be at a -1.
A 5.
Bloodshed. Not something that I so willingly dish out. I don't like dwarves much. Men, they keep fine company. Sometimes. But orcs and goblins, they deserve no mercy. The Battle of the Five Armies, 6 years ago. I only did what I needed to do. I have seen many die in my time. In fact, I am the last of my line. My children, my wife. I lost them to the hands of orcs and goblins years ago. But me, I don't seek death. I battle only because I simply must. And as you actually examine him, he's wearing nothing of a warrior, but sitting at his leaned up against his chair, you can see what looks to be a woodcutter's axe. There is nothing special about this. There's no opulence to it. You can tell that it has been used to hew many things. It is heavy, big, and sharp, but it has many buffs from weapons and impacts and whatnot. As he doesn't even bother to look at it as he looks to you, Feanor, and he says, "And you, elf. Feanor, tell me, what do you think of battle?"
It is not a necessity, I don't believe. I believe it's not something that someone should strive towards. I suppose there are moments when one must confront the shadow that exists within this world, but I do not think it is something to shy away from. I sought out battle when my companions were fleeing from the Mirkwood. But in doing so, I was able to save the lives of many. Power and the strength that one gets from it can be useful as long as it is ruled by a kind heart.
And you, Theodric, what do you think of battle?
Well, I do wish we would live in a world where it wasn't necessary. But until the very far off and, quite frankly, probably impossible day comes where all orcs and goblins are gone, there's always going to be people who are needed to fight goblins, orcs, trolls, and, even humans who have decided to shy away from the path of, law abidement and nicety, I guess.
Well said.
And he looks to you, Jess, and he says, "Jessamine." And he smiles. Small smile. I'm going to have you make an insight check for me.
Okay. Oh, goodness. 9.
He's seems reflective. You're unable to really discern what exactly, but he almost as if he's looking at you and seeing something. But he looks for you and he smiles, and then back to both Feanor and Theodric, and he says, "Yes. To be strong is a necessity in these days. But strength without a kind and gentle heart is nothing. The most important thing to learn is mercy. When it is due, and justice when it is due. You say you bring me the body of Maravich and one of my other Beornings. What mercy was allotted to them? Tell me, do you know how they died?"
So an orc attack. We found evidence. There were arrows clean through them. We found the bodies of the orcs not far off.
With such a mighty throw from a spear, it was clear that one of your Bjorns had thrown a spear clean through 2 orcs, pinning them to the ground, killing them.
He looks
Even as they were probably taking a hail of arrows.
He looks and he lets out a small chuckle.
Warrior's death.
Maravich. Always practicing his spear throw. He said one day he would use it. How many did he skewer?
We only found 2 bodies, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seemingly only the 2.
Impressive.
We weren't able to stay around long enough, but from what we could tell from the boat that they were in, that they had a prisoner with them. The prisoner's bindings seemed to have been cut free by a knife. Maravich's sword was missing. There was a trail heading south.
His eye perks up with interest.
There was a trail heading south, but with it already being close to... oh no, it was day when we found them. But yes, we didn't want to leave their bodies by the side of the river unattended to. And I do not know the customs of Bjorning, so I couldn't even offer them a proper burial. I do not want their spirits to wander lost in these lands.
Tell me. What of the coin purse that was on Maravich's person?
Oh, did we...
We didn't find anything like that.
Did
The
we,
bodies
Kyle?
were
I don't remember that.
the bodies were already searched by the time
Yeah.
we got there, so we didn't really find
I'm
anything.
just double checking with the lore master because I don't remember us ever finding it. So
Yeah.
I would have
you
remembered
guys,
if
you
I
guys
found
didn't
it.
uncover it. Yeah.
you would.
I would have written it down in my notes,
You
guys.
guys, the 3 of you looked thoroughly at these bodies.
Yeah, we did. No
Yeah,
coin
you
pouch.
didn't find a coin pouch.
The bodies seem to have been rifled through, and everything of value had been taken already by the time we found them.
Make
We
a
assume that the
persuasion check.
prisoner. We assume that the prisoner took that. Persuasion, please. 13.
Clearly you're not thieves. What is of real value is what was taken from Maravich. Not silver. You say that this prisoner... You say that they were transporting someone here.
We believe so. It looked like it from the what we could find in the boat.
I sent Maravich and Odo, my enforcer, south to Stonyford not too long ago, about a week. Apparently there's been disputes. There's been unrest. The further south we go, the more our people's homesteads seem to be growing impatient. Ungrateful. Orcs so close to my house, and he begins to continue to speak. They were either greatly daring or very, very foolish. Either way, they have killed my men, and that I will not allow. I sent Maravich south to the other villages along the Great River, other than Stonyford. I told him to sort out all the arguments that are being made, and make sure that all is well. Perhaps you're familiar with this, Jess. But I guess, from the sounds of it, that he and Odo were bringing a prisoner back to me for judgment. And he shrugs his shoulders, and as he does so, the cape kind of falls half to the side, and you can tell that his neck and like a little bit of his like chest is revealed, and he literally has like the fur of like a bear almost. Like this dude is very beast-like as he looks to you, and he says, I never wanted to be a ruler of men. But if they choose to follow me, then they must keep to my laws. And them that break my laws must come before me for a trial at the Carrick. There's a prisoner that was being transported. I can't say one way or another whether he was directly involved in the death of Maravich. But justice needs to be served. And he stands up and he looks to you and he says, please, show me the bodies. I must look for myself.
Cool.
Lead
Lead him outside.
Yeah. Left him.
You do so, and with each step, you can hear the wood creak under his feet. He follows you out, and he just barely clears the giant front door. As he steps out onto the porch. At this point, it is like golden hour. The entire fields around are just bathed in gold and just like glistening off of the flowers. And there's a small little pond too. It is quite beautiful. Not considering what you're about to show him, but he makes his way over to the boat and he takes a deep breath. He takes the blankets that are covering the bodies and he peeks at first. And then he takes the entire blanket off the top of them. And what is revealed are the peaceful faces of Maravich and Odo. He stares and he doesn't say a word. And you can just make out a single tear that has welled up in his eye and has begun to trickle down his face.
Oh, we got wind in the mic.
Thank you. These men, they have been loyal to me these 5 years, and they will be sorely missed. Tell me, and he stares at you, and there's a deep sadness in his eyes. Tell me, what have you seen on the roads? How could this be? In my lands!
Well, at least not this close, but we have encountered wargs and and goblins and a handful of orcs, but that was closer up into the pass through the mountains. I did see a giant bear on the Carrick. I assumed that was just a beyawning thing. But yeah, other than that, like we have had occasional mishaps with creatures of the shadow, but nothing major.
And certainly nothing this close to your lands or the Easterly Inn.
Didn't we notice that there was a lack of Beyonds though? Because normally, I think, and like she's looking at Beyond like very carefully when she's saying this, because normally we can find evidence of us being watched or followed, but there didn't seem to be any of that this time. I had assumed it was because you drew all your forces to combat that crime lord person you were talking about last time we chatted.
The matters of the South. Yes. Particularly Stonyford has been subject to raids from bandits. And he leans in close. The Viglundings.
Mm.
And he looks in the northward direction and back to you. And he says, much of my time has been preoccupied protecting my northern borders. Vigland. He's a man of the north. In the years since the fall of Smaug, he's been gathering forces. They call him King. That man is no king, no more than I'm a king. But he does not distinguish between those that are cruel and those that are good. He will take anybody that is willing to bow the knee.
Can I do a quick history check?
Yeah, make a traditions check for me.
Traditions? I also want to know, is this the guy that all the way back when
Yeah.
Maeglin was going to be dealing with? He was going to
Yes.
give us... He was too.
That's something that Feanor does know. He does.
Okay.
And this is the first name drop of the people. So you might have heard the name Vigland before, but
Yeah.
his people are called the Viglundings.
Okay. I got a 13, by the way.
13. You very much remember about hearing about this lord in the north. Even in your time up in the Vales of Gundabad, specifically Theodric, you heard whispers from the woman who was speaking with you about a ruler in the north, and even amongst the wild people that were up there too. There is a powerful influence that is there, and particularly they seem to be quite united to a degree. But Beorning, he continues, and he says, the Viglundings. I've spoken with them more than a few occasions. They want me to bow the knee. I do not bow to any man, elf, beast. He's a vile
There
man.
must-
I've dealt with him on more than a few occasions in the past. But he is charismatic. He does know how to lead and garner people around him. My job, especially these past few months, has been making sure that my northern borders are secure, not only for the sake of those of the Easterly Inn, but for all travelers who seek refuge east of the Mirkwood along the Elf Path, and those in my lands. I take deep offense to any harm that is to befall anybody within my lands. Anybody that fights for the side of good, that fights for the light. Tension has escalated. I fear it'll only be a matter of time before declarations of war are made. I have allied myself across the Anduin with a man named Black Tom. He's a good man. He leads a fair number of people closely related to Beornings. directly across the Anduin, and he's had his fair share of conflict as well. He has a fortified settlement, but he is no army. The Beornings were spread about as thin as we possibly can imagine. All of my fighters, they're tired. They patrol tirelessly. But the fact that some orcs have slipped through their fingers, and the demise of my men has been met. I cannot forgive this. What of you? Have you had run-ins with the Viglundings, orcs? You've mentioned goblins and wargs. Tell me, what have you seen on your travels?
I came across a group of bandits on the way to Tyrant's Hill.
The men of the South.
They had kidnapped the dwarf that was repairing the road for Lord Mordred. They seemed keen on taking him back to their leader. They wanted to take me as well, but fortunately it didn't come to that.
Very fortunate indeed. I much like your company. You in the hands of bandits and unsavory folk.
Yes, well, they would have had a hard time keeping me there for long.
And she can keep good care of herself. She has walked into the midst of a goblin's lair with a goblin king and all of his men laid with orc guards, and just strolled in and left unharmed.
I still wonder why they...
The amount of bravery and cunning. She would have been free.
I do not doubt that you can take care of yourself, Jessamine. But if what your companion says is true, you far underestimated what you told me you did.
Honestly, I don't like to speak of it much. It was not my proudest achievement.
But you're alive, and that's important. It seems that the hands of fate have brought you here today with grim news. But I am happy to at least see a familiar face and new faces, which I find perhaps I can trust. And you can hear immediately this big gurgle in his stomach as he puts his hand on his stomach and he pats it and he says, "All this talk is making me hungry." This is a phrase that you have been quite familiar with, Jess. For the phrase that he had first mentioned to you when you had met him previously.
Well, it is not good to drink on an empty stomach. If you'll point me in the direction of your kitchens, I'm quite certain I can do something to alleviate this situation.
Well, Nalda prepared something already, but I know what you can do. I will leave you to it. The kitchen should be fully stocked with anything that you need tonight. And as he says tonight, I'm gonna have all the three of you make perception checks for me.
10.
That 20 for 23.
Oh, let's go. I only got a 9.
With that group check, you look around and you have a number of dogs that are around you that sneakily have snuck up. However, Baynor, one thing that you have noticed is there has begun to be a stream of people making their way through the gates. These are also Beornings, as they make their way in and have begun to walk slowly up the path. You know what this is about, Feanor. They are, maybe not tonight, but they are here to at least mourn for the loss of beloved brethren. And Beorn, he looks to all of you and he looks out and doesn't even address the people that come in as he stands, as he rises, and he walks back in towards the doors. Tonight we mourn. And tomorrow, come sunrise, we will bury my brethren. We will give them a warrior send-off. They are heroes.
Well,
And he bids you to follow him inside the Great Hall.
sweet.
As you do so, you enter back in, and the light is now perfectly streaming in the evening sun, perfectly streaming directly through this door all the way to the very back, and it is as bright as you've seen it. The central table that goes all the way down probably could sit 80 people. It is very big, and as people begin to stream in, they look at the bodies, and a couple of dogs actually come out, and they begin to pull the boat around the side of the house. Very interesting. You have a couple of them that are kind of like pulling at it from the front, and a couple of them are up on their hind legs and almost like pushing it kind of out of the way. As some of these Beornings are looking on, they stop as they watch as the boat disappears with Maravich and Odal, and they begin to stream their way into the hall. This is definitely a solemn occasion. You begin to have your seats, and you are shown Jess to the kitchens, to which it's a humble kitchen. It definitely doesn't quite have really the appliances that are used to. There's a couple really, really big cast iron pans, some rough chopping utensils, but nowhere are there plates or anything like that. It is pretty rudimentary from what they have, but it is fully stocked. Anything that you could possibly need ingredient-wise is here on the shelves.
Is there chocolate?
Maybe not that. No, probably not
You
chocolate.
said fully stocked, and I was like, is it really fully stocked to a Hobbit standard?
No, definitely not to a Hobbit standard. Absolutely. And so you set to with cooking. Theodric, I'm going to have you make a perception check for me.
Oh, he mad.
It's a 4.
The people
If I could roll something over a 10 today, that'd be fantastic.
That's a dream.
The people file in, and they look at you and Feanor as the two of you take seats kind of at the head of the table, where you were sitting previously, and some of them actually come up and inquire to you, and they're like, "So you heard the news?"
Yeah. Yes, they're actually the ones who, along with our Hobbit friend, brought them back here.
I don't know what to say. Since before we and at this point it's a man, it's a gentleman who's speaking to the two of you, and he goes, since before we even decided to join the Beornings, Maravich and Odal, they were always some of the strongest among us. Clearly, no one can hold a candle to Beorn himself, but what does this mean for us? For
Do
our
not let
people?
do not let their deaths bring you despair. The best that you can do for people who have given their lives and have dedicated themselves to the protection of the peoples is to grow strong and carry on their legacy. Do not, mourn them if you wish, but do not languish in it. Use their memory to push yourself forward. Be better. To be like them. Let them be the heroes that you strive to be.
I think there's like a fan that's blowing on a mic, perhaps.
Oh,
Just a little
sorry.
bit. No worries. It's just a little bit. But they look. He looks at the two of you and he says, "I apologize that you join us on such a solemn occasion, but thank you for bringing these bodies back, my brothers, my friends. Today, we grieve, but tomorrow, if you could inform everybody what you saw, I think it would put many hearts, many minds at ease."
And Faye's just going to give a bit of Laurie's head a little bit.
He goes and he walks down and he has a seat kind of somewhere in the middle of the table. There's small chit chat. It's pretty quiet. But as you do so, you notice that these dogs have started to come in and filing around. They've started lighting candles all around the place. They have like long sticks in their mouths and they're just jumping up and lighting all the candles, and soon the great hall begins to be alight as the sun finally sets behind the misty mountains. You can hear the sound of crickets in the night become almost deafening as it begins to fill the hall. There's more chatter, but there is somebody who is sitting next to you, specifically Theodoric, who seems to just be staring directly into the fire. It is someone who actually very much looks akin to Inalda, the shield maiden. She's not quite as tall, but kind of similar hairstyle as she stares into the fire.
What were their names again? Oldo and
Odo and Maravich.
Maravich. Were you close with Maravich or Odo?
She slowly turns her head, and you can see that her eyes are puffy. You don't see tears, but her eyes are stark red, and you can tell that she is very much holding back tears. And she looks to you and she says, "I knew them. They were both great men. You know, why does war hurt so much?
I wish I could give you some sort of flowery words about how everything's going to get better and, I don't know, some sort of comfort, but, the truth is it's going to hurt for a long time to come. I lost a friend of mine a while back now, and it's been about 4 or 5 months now, I think, and, it still hurts. Even though she died doing something heroic, died protecting someone innocent, it still hurts. It doesn't matter how heroic or glorious their death may seem, it still just leaves a wound there. And in the end, you've just got to make your peace with everything dies eventually. So you can't mourn that they're gone. You just have to embrace and remember the time you had with them, the time you got to spend with them, and the good moments you had.
Wise words coming from someone so young. And she lets kind of like a long drawn out breath, and she says, "My name is Avila."
I'm Theodric.
Thank you for being here. I know it'll mean a lot to both of them. I don't know if you knew them or not, but their deeds and their actions have meant a lot to our people. You know, Maravich, he had aspirations. He said that when he grew old, he wanted to have a family, many kids. That sword that he always kept, it's always been the crown jewel of his family line. His father and his father before him fought many battles and many wars with that sword. He always spoke about how he wanted to pass it down. And that, as you said, while his time expires, a piece of him still exists in this world. And that he can be the strength for future generations to do what he did, for them to do what they must.
Did Maravich have any family?
No, not yet. He spent much of his years very bound to duty. He was a good man, and he had many suitors. He was betrothed. Untimely.
Those without family, those unnamed who have fallen to the end of their lives, those who die in the service of others, they aren't ever really alone. They join a long line, large lists of people who go individually unremembered. We still honor them anyway. He may not have any kin, but he is not alone. He had family, people of these lands, the people whose life that he gave. Just remember that. Anytime that you might feel alone or might mourn his loss, he's surrounded by his family right now.
Thank you. Your words are a bit of a comfort. I just still can't believe it. I can't believe it. And she leans back and she says, "Inalda, come. Have you met my friends?" And Inalda, she makes her way over and she sternly looks down and she nods and she says, "Yes, sister, I've met them."
Yes, she nearly skewered us at the front door.
And with that, Avila, she looks up and she says, I understand you take your duty seriously, sister, but please sit with me.
She's saying that to her sister or to us?
To her sister. So you are kind of sitting there, kind of in the general vicinity, anyways. Sitting
Yeah.
right next to Theodore specifically. She says, "Please,
Yeah,
please sit with me."
I didn't. Faina wouldn't know how to deal with someone saying, "Hey, could you come sit over here so we can keep chatting?" He'd be like, "Oh, I don't really know you."
This is
But-
awkward.
Yeah, okay. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
And the two begin to continue to chat, kind of sisterly, but they try to include you as much as they can. Speaking of which, Jess, what have you prepared
Yeah.
for such an occasion?
Quick question. While
Yes.
I'm preparing, do I have like 3 or 5 dogs helping
yeah.
me as
Oh,
well?
100%.
Oh my god. That makes it even better.
And everything you say to them, they understand perfectly.
That
This would
is-
shock you, but Shadrach has this ability to do so. So
Yeah.
they do their thing quite
so good.
skillfully indeed. And so you have sous chef dogs.
It's like that scene in Ratatouille, but instead of rats, it's all dogs.
And as you get close to finishing the meal, you actually there's a door to the kitchen that you could assume leads somewhere, either further into the house, outside, and you hear a knock at the door.
Yeah. To answer your question properly before, I'm doing like a roast lamb with mint sauce. I'm putting like doing some roast vegetables with the lamb at the same time, and I'm doing roast potatoes as well, roasting in duck fat specifically.
Where's the lamb sauce?
So you're going
Exactly.
so you're going
Screaming at the
vegetarian
dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, full golden red. Yeah, I'm just like, look at that, that's bad. And then I hear the knock, and I'm like, open it, and then like in my sweetest possible voice, being like, "Hello, yes, dinner's nearly ready. What can I do for you?"
And as you open the door, it's a door that opens to the outside. You see probably 12 sheep have lined up out in front. And the dogs, one of them barks. And the sheep single file come in, and the dogs begin to put serving trays on the sheep's backs.
Okay, that went a different route.
Oh, I thought you were about to like line up for slaughter. I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
this is
right.
I know I
dark,
said I
man.
was serving lamb, but goddamn.
Right, that's exactly what I thought too. I was like, that's pretty
Oh my lord.
pretty
In
messed
some
up,
ways, it's
Kyle.
worse because the sheep are actually serving the dead, lamb brethren.
They're too dumb. They don't know.
Oh,
They go,
okay,
they
that's
go
fine.
"Bah," as they get food, just like not plates upon plates. Essentially, they're serving trays with like just the food on the serving trays, because there's no plates in this place to be found. And you looked probably real hard for them, but they don't exist. And so there's like these big serving platters, and these sheep, almost as if instinctually know what to do, they begin to single file out into the main hall, and they stand around the sides. And with that, Bayorn, he comes back out into the main room as he calls, "Before we begin this meal tonight, let us give thanks to friends, family, and those from afar. Most importantly, let us give thanks to heroism and duty. Tonight we mourn, but let this food comfort you. For today we lose 2 brothers, but tomorrow we continue on with hope in our hearts and purpose that drives us. And he gestures. He gives a gesture over to the kitchen. Tonight, our meal has been prepared by Jessamine Sackville Baggins. She comes from the west, over the mountains. And as you make your way out, there are many people that bow their heads to you and they greet you.
I just give like a small curtsy and reply.
Tonight is a treat. Few are as skilled with the pot and pan as this one. And she and her friends. And he gestures over to Theodoric and Feanor. They are the reason that we are able to say goodbye to our fellow men. Come sunrise, we will bury them. If you wish to prepare words for the fallen, do so tonight. You can speak them tomorrow. But let us rejoice in life tonight. And he sits down at his chair, and he scoots it up to kind of the front of the table, the head of the table. And with that, all of the sheep, they come from all of the sides, and as they stand kind of like by the tables, all of the dogs kind of in turn stand on their hind legs and grab with their mouths, but also with the help of their paws, and they put these trays on the table. So there's like one tray per like 3 people as it's been placed around. They all the dogs kind of give a little bow, and everybody steps away, and they all file out of the front doors in single file, the sheep on one side, the dogs on the other side. And with that, the meal begins for the evening.
I want to say, when the dogs are doing this, Theodoric is giving a very pointed look to Feanor.
Yeah, Feanor's looking at the sheep, just like in abject horror at what he's seeing.
Yeah.
Like, what? What?
I know, Feanor. I was so concerned when I opened the door. I was expecting it to be a person, but it was a sheep. And they knocked. They knocked on the door.
Oh my god! I've met Lord Orond, and
They're
I think
sheep.
this is.
I
think this is a more magical
I'm
moment.
serving lamb. Lamb, Feanor, and they're sheep. I've never been this close to the food chain, okay?
No, don't worry, sheep are, from my experience, like, granted the ones that I eat generally don't knock. That is a bit concerning.
Oh, God.
Wow, that brings into question, are they sentient? Oh, wow. No, I can't think about it too much. I think I just have to start eating.
It's delicious.
It smells so good as this a scent of just braised lamb just fills your nostrils, and it begins to bathe you. All of the worries of the world soon begin to fade away. These ingredients are fresh, but it's also something that you probably, Jess is great at cooking, but when you have a pantry this good, it's delectable. The flavors profiles are just like so fine, so rich, but this is literally a meal fit for kings. At this point, it's really,
simple
really
but
good.
quality food.
Exactly. Beorn, he actually he pulls up a small bench, tall bench, but small bench, over to his side, and he taps down as he offers you a seat next to him, Jess.
I'm a little intimidated, but I'm still gonna go up and do that. Yep.
Perfect. And with that, you begin to eat. Is there anything that any of you want to bring up at this moment with the people that are around you, with Beorn? Now's your opportunity to do so. It could be about anything, too.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a good time for, like, chit-chat while they're mourning, to be honest. I'm just gonna, like...
Yeah.
I like it.
Actually, no, sorry. Feanor, in just, like, amongst the chit-chat that does happen, is actually going to ask if they have received any word from the Woodman about anything to do with like reinforcements in these lands. Because Bjorn's been talking about how his men are tired, and Feanor was trying to get like a Gulma to promise to send men up to these lands to maybe see more about trade, more about establishing safer roads and stuff. He wants to know if they've actually been receiving that information, because there seems to be other trouble that's also south of.
Beorn, he responds in turn. He says, "My people. Well, let's just say I'm a leader that must keep laws, but when it comes to economic matters, I left that to Osred in his care. He is my outrider, but he is also my, advisor when it comes to leading, or at least what it means to lead. I have not met with any of the leaders of the Woodmen, save for one." And he looks down to Jess as he looks back to you, Feanor. "Months ago, before the Yule, I spoke with Ingolmer myself. He didn't seem hisself. He spoke to me of the return of his son. Goes by the name Mogdred."
Yes, we have met.
"We have met Mogdred's men. They used to cross at the old ford. As of late, they've refused to pay the toll, and thus they are not allowed access across, and so they've decided to make their way southward. And now they do business across the Gladden Fields. It is not a safe place. It is marshy and more product most likely gets sunk there than before. But in regards to speaking with Ingolmer about relations, he's a man that I can respect. He clearly knows what he is doing with his people. We have arranged, at least in part, an agreement between Woodman Hall and the Beornings to speak, to inform each other on the ongoings within Mirkwood and those in Wilderland. The men aren't quite as capable, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Out in the open, my men are much more suited to such things. They are not the horse riders of old that they were, but they are useful with them and their hounds. They have offered to be able to help keep more of an eye on the border between our two realms, and it has been a relief. The goblins coming out of the mountains of Mirkwood have not been quite as much of a problem as of late. As I had mentioned, my attentions have been drawn elsewhere. And because of your doings, which I am gratefully thankful for, many of my men have made their way across the river for the goblins that have been flooding out of the Misty Mountains. Perhaps it is important that I meet with this Mogdred myself. It sounds like he is a ruler of warriors. That isn't so much the case for Ingolmer. He leads craftsmen, hunters, and the few warriors he has, he keeps a guard of his city. And I respect that.
If I may, Mogdred is very, I would say, complicated person. he was raised in such a way that, well, he was raised by orcs in the necromancer's tower underneath the necromancer.
Doggle-do.
Doggle-deer, exactly. It's enough to drive anyone insane. From limited knowledge that I have of it. Mogdred survived, but only barely. His humanity's, whatever's left of it, is skewered. He does not trust easily. He needs a fallback for everything. He is, well, when I saw him, he appeared to be cracking underneath the weight of this leadership. The wanting to do right by his people, but also not necessarily willing to trust anyone. Not full-heartedly. And he mentioned to me that he hasn't been receiving the promised supplies from Mountain Hall.
Actually, part of why we were on our journey. Heading there to see if perhaps we could fix whatever arrangement has happened, or if it is danger on the roads, ensure that these liveries are still being done and not being just pillaged.
Have you seen any caravans from Mountain Hall pass through here? Or the forward?
I have. Osred has told me that many of the caravans that go to both Woodman Hall and Woodman Town have made their way across the ford. They have paid their toll, and we have reduced the toll for business transactions as we understand the importance of such materials from Mountain Hall. We have begun some trade with Mountain Hall as well. But it's been months since my men have seen any sign of the people of Tyrant's Hill make their way across the old ford. Their trade route is beyond the borders of my lands. So if they are trading with the men of Mountain Hall, it is further south than even Stonyford.
I see.
I was worried. I was worried for you, Jess, that when I departed ways with you, and you were going to that accursed place, Tyrant's Hill, that it would be the last I'd seen of you. But I am happy. But if what you say is true, and if his humanity is waning, well, I stand by what I said earlier. Power is important, but equally as important is mercy and justice. If this is something that Lord Mogdred is unwilling to dabble in, I don't know how long an alliance between the Woodmen, between the Beornings, can last. But I do understand. Broken people. They must be addressed with care, tenderness, and mercy. Ingolmur informed me a bit about the plight of his son and about his, let's just say, introduction in the world. At least the world of the free people.
So he does have a flair for the dramatic.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly.
I suppose we should have known, considering he lived on Tyrant Hill.
You should have known, considering he lived on Tyrant's Hill and then didn't change the name.
Yeah. But it is
He does have
actually.
a flair for dramatic.
But we were actually at the Folkmoot, and we were part of the people who were willing to offer Mogdred that second chance for his people. We think that it may be one of the things. As much as he might be bending under the weight of supporting his people, I believe that pressure might be one of the few things keeping him on the right path. Having people to care for and to ensure that they thrive. It'll ground some people.
I will say it is very less than ideal situation. Tyrant's Hill itself is rather gloomy disposition. It's cold and uncaring. The walls are raised high to keep everyone out, and the lands itself are salted. Nothing good grows there. It's a hard and barren land, which gives way to hard and cold people. But maybe it's just my naivete for the ways of the world, but I want them to succeed. I want them to be better.
The past couple of months, I put thought into this as well. What is the difference between someone like Mogdred of Tyrant's Hill and Vigland, or any other bandit?
Well, it comes down to motivation, doesn't it?
Indeed.
If Mogdred is truly so beyond redeeming, then he would have inflated the Black Tarn already, or set out on a quest to, I don't know, burn something. But he's, well, at least appears to be making an effort. He's repaired the road. He's trying to look out for his own. He didn't kill me on sight. In fact, he encouraged me to go to Mountain Hall to try and solve his problems diplomatically. From what you've told me about this Vigland person, Vigland seems to have a very overinflated sense of ego. He calls himself king. Modred only calls himself lord. He's demanding that you pledge your allegiance to him, even though you are of far, far more consequence than Vigland could ever hope to be. Vigland seems to think that he is above you, and I don't believe Mogdred thinks he's above anyone else. I hope that if he has a strong community behind him, people who actually believe in him doing the right thing, he'll be encouraged to follow that path.
That is true. He had the humility enough to seek help, even if it is to achieve goals of grandeur. One thing I will say about Vigland: he has a way of drawing people to himself. He needs not go out and search for allies. They are brought to him. But it does make me wonder, what are Mogdred's goals? If they're anything like mine, and the pressure of the situation of leading, I would hope he'd want what's best for his people. He seems to have worked to some degree within the bounds of what has been laid out as far as guidelines for his introduction into the woodman culture. My Beornings have not once had confrontations, negative confrontations, with the people of Tyrant's Hill. But they do seem rather isolationist. Something that I've had to come to terms with very, very quickly will only lead to loneliness and war within oneself. If he has aspirations for grandeur, I want to know what those are. Vigilance are clear. He wants to be king. But Mogdred, is he simply just content to be a lord of his people? Or is he looking for something more and just using us to get there?
Our friend Valanath might have said in a much more eloquent way, but within everyone, there is light. Maybe it might not be the thing that influences him the most, but it means that someone can always be led back. When he looked upon Mogdred, he saw someone wreathed in shadow. But deep down, there was still a burning hot white light. Chance of redemption. The chance to push past those darker urges, those darker thoughts. I won't say that I trust Mogdred, but I trust that Mogdred will do what's right for his people. For now, at the very least, that is being aligned with the Woodmen. And the more that their cultures and their peoples become intertwined amongst each other, the deeper those bonds become. The mingling of houses, the minglings of kin. There's still a chance of redemption yet.
There was a time that I thought myself beyond saving. I let hatred and rage rule me. It was easier to be the bear than it was to be the man. I know how hard it is to seek redemption for the things that you've done, or the things that you've allowed to be transpired. Perhaps you're right. There is a glimmer of hope in everybody. Just some it's brighter than others. We must put trust in others. I find that finding aid in the most unlikely of places is often what turns the tide in war. In ultimate redemption and goodness. He kind of smiles and he looks to the three of you and he says, "Never in my years did I think I would be relying on another hobbit, a young elf from the Mirkwood realm, or even meeting somebody all the way from as far south as Rohan. And yet we are here united tonight. Kinship. Bonds of friendship are forged in moments such as these. We grieve together, and we grow closer. You grieve with my people, and they come to know you and view you as kindred. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for not leaving their bodies back there at the river. I know that you had a duty to chase after the prisoner. But you set that aside and you brought my men back. I will not forget this. My people will not forget this. They will be buried amongst their own. You did a good thing today. Prisoners can be tracked down. Prisoners can be caught. You might have a day or two lead on us. But it is important to grieve when it is necessary. Tonight, you can stay here. Clearly, the Anduin isn't as safe as I had originally thought. If there are orcs wandering around, you might as well have a good night of rest and we can decide what to do in the morning. I have guest houses, or if you prefer to spend a warm night by the fire, you can sleep in here for tonight. I'll have my dogs lay out furs and bedding for you if you wish to be here. The light never goes out. But if you prefer some privacy, I have a couple cabins I can set you up in for the evening.
Thank you.
We appreciate your hospitality, Bayon. I don't know about the other two, but a nice, quiet cabin sounds lovely.
Yes.
Yeah. Cabin sounds perfect, actually.
I'll probably just end up staying here in the.
Wonderful. Make yourselves at
You
home.
just like being close to fire.
Struck me deep into my core.
It is warm. But I do understand. Tonight, rest up. And I'm going to have you at this moment. So, Jess, because you are the spokesperson for the party, I'm going to have you make a final audience check. And this is going to be at a +2.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna get.
What do you want me to roll for that?
Just Jess for this. This is traditions.
Okay. So +1 all over. Oh, okay. This is fine. I wish it was like a charisma-based check.
I know.
+2, you say? It's only a 7.
Hang on. Roll that
What?
D16.
What? 16!
Oh man, it's been a while to do this. Give me 1 second.
I'm desperate.
Desperate times call for desperate
that desperate.
measures. Let's see, D16.
At least the 7 still beats like the 5 DC. So, you know.
Is that all there is?
I don't know.
That is a 16.
I'm saying it beats some
That's
of
a
the...
16?
Oh, it's gonna be so funny if you now roll like a 2.
Go ahead
Like
and
a
roll for
1?
advantage.
Alright. I won't mark an inspiration, but I will roll again. So that's what Theodoric has decreed. That's what the dice want. Okay, that's a 15.
15. Okay. With that audience check, Bayorn is impressed by you and your companions. He has not only come to know you, but he has come to trust you. He continues. He says, I know it is not my place to ask this of you, but as thinly stretched as I am, whoever this prisoner is, he is someone of my people, a Bayorning. If you could track him down and bring him to me, I will be in your debt. But first, and he, at this point, most of everybody has left back to their places for the evening. So there's just a few people that are kind of lingering, kind of cleaning up dishes and whatnot. But he comes in
Helping
close.
the dogs clean up dishes, yeah.
Dogs and some people, and yeah.
Licking all the cups. Every cup we've drunk from has been licked clean by a dog.
Yep.
Delicious.
Good thing we left Valanus
If
behind.
Paladin was here, he'd have a heart attack.
He really would. But he looks to you and he says, he turns around and he pulls out pouches, 3 pouches. He says, "This isn't much, but it is compensation for not only bringing the bodies here, but let's just say a pay in advance. I have my absolute utmost faith that you will find whoever this is that has escaped." In each of these pouches is an initial payment of 10 silver pennies each. You will get another 40 silver pennies each upon the return of the prisoner here.
I'm writing that down so you can't go back on your word.
This will be...
Sweet, guys.
This is not only a favor, but I ask this humbly as the leader of a people to you. Justice must be done. If Merovich and Odo made their dangerous journey down to Stonyford to just bring a prisoner up and they weren't able to deliver him, justice is not done. I will not let their names, their final act, be sullied by a prisoner who has escaped judgment. Do you understand?
Question out of character.
Yes.
Whereabouts is Stony Fjord on the map? Like, it's not on the map, but...
Yes, Stonyford. Jess would be familiar with this, as Beorn did stop at Stonyford on his way down to on your way down to there. Stonyford is about a day's travel from the Old Ford, so it's about right here.
Okay, so it's a day's travel south from where we found the bodies.
Yeah.
Or
So
half a day.
from Beorn's house to the Old Ford, on horseback, it's about 2 days travel, and then from the Old Ford, it's about another day to Stonyford.
Okay,
Yeah,
Cool.
it's not too far.
thank you. That's
Yes.
all I was wondering. And Theodric's going to say, well, we thank you for the down payment, and I don't know about the other two and what our timetable was, but we did plan on hunting this criminal down anyway.
I already offered to do it like 2 or 3 times, so yeah.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yes, we already planned on doing it, but we do thank you for the down payment anyway. Having a criminal running around
Yes.
doesn't really sit well with any of us.
And more importantly, well, for the sake of Merovich's honor, I would like for you to reclaim his sword. It's an important relic to his family line, a line that he was unable to continue. But I think it does belong into the hands of the woman that he was betrothed to.
Thank you for this money, and yes, I do believe that returning family heirlooms, much as we did with Ngolmo returning his family's axe to him, there's always someone who may need this more than someone else just letting it collect dust in a collection.
Indeed.
If I may be able to ask another small stone, if you do have any, the loaning of a pony for our dear friend Jess and I on our journeys.
You know, I really, me and large animals, it's just...
It means we'll be able to cover more ground, Jess, much more quickly without tiring out our animals. And if we are in pursuit of someone, if we're in pursuit of someone on foot, then that may be an advantage that we can make use use of.
Can Theodric use a performance check on Jess to just be like, the criminal who killed Merovich has already got a day or two ahead of us. On foot, he's going to get much further away. You don't want him to escape, do you?
Oh,
That's like persuasion, if anything.
No, it's a performance, because I'm putting on a performance. I'm tugging at your heartstrings with an 18.
Hear me out. Player to player, unless it's like an insight check, it just doesn't work. Unless Kyle wants to play it differently.
That's an 18 of my performance check. I'm tugging on her heartstrings.
All right, that's
the highest you rolled tonight.
So typically player to player, I will say this. So with that 18, I will say that there are benefits to having a pony, and one of them is the first time that your party gains anybody in your party gains a level of exhaustion, it's negated. And so having a pony in your company basically lifts the burdens of the travel per se. And so it can only benefit you. However, if you do want a role play where it's just like absolutely zero ponies, I will also give that to you. But the Theodric is convincing you about the practicality of it. So it's up to you ultimately.
Yeah, like Jess doesn't mind large animals in theory. In practice, she's like very awkward and uncomfortable around them. But like, yeah, she'll ride a pony if you tell her to ride a pony.
All right.
Yes.
If we can get one, then yes.
There are many ponies that I have in my stables, and they are well trained and well acquainted with those that are friends of mine. I can loan you a pony for an adventure. And who knows, perhaps over time, you may come to know each other a little bit more than just traveling companions. It is more or less up to my pony to decide whether they want to remain with you on the journeys ahead. But for now, all I can say is I can loan it to you for this task that I ask of you. If that is fair enough.
No, it's more than fair. We would have understood if you hadn't been able to offer them, but we appreciate that you have been able to accommodate us.
Beorn lets out a whistle, and as he does so, a dog comes running over. This is kind of like a small, kind of like I call them Oji-chan dogs, but like the Scottish little like terrier looking, like gray
like Scottish
terrier.
Terriers,
Yeah,
like,
Scottish
like
terrier.
the really
mustache.
shaggy one.
Yeah. He one of those
Yeah,
dogs
the Scottish
comes over.
one from Lady and the Tramp. I know
Yes.
exactly what you mean.
Yes.
Exactly. The like Scottish terrier, one of those come over, and he goes, he whistles and he says, "Our friends would like to seek a pony. If you would go to the stables and ask around if there are any of those who want to take up the task for a few days' travel, that would be greatly appreciated." And he just says this like in just regular Western speak, and the dog bows and just trots off out the door, taking a right, going to the stables. We shall see by the end of the night if there are any ponies that will be willing to take you up on this task.
Cool.
Sweet.
Very cool.
Feanor is still slightly disturbed by the idea that they're going to ask the horses.
The dog is going to ask the horse.
Yeah.
Multiple things.
He's holding it together, but like, he's a hunter. This recontextualizes everything.
And as you get ready for the night, you are shown by dogs your separate rooms, and Feanor, you stay. But as you do stay, one of these dogs, it looks like kind of like a poodle of some kind, makes its way over and rolls out a bear pelt on the ground and a number of wool blankets. right next to the fire, and it uses its tail to kind of like dust the ground around. I know poodle tails kind of short, but he's doing it and dusting the ground around the head area, and a nice fluffy down pillow for you to rest your head. As both Theodric and Jess, you make your way to your separate cabins. You notice more or less the same. These places aren't nearly as clean as what you've seen at the Easterly Inn. They're very simple. They don't have windows that close. They're just kind of open to the night elements. Fortunately, it's not that cold of a night. But you definitely have a roof over your head. There's a candle that's lit on the table, and you have basically like a fur bedding and then wool blankets that you're able to slip under for the evening. The night goes on. And as you all prepare to sleep, I'm going to have each of you make wisdom saving throws for me.
Wow. Is this against Shadow? You have to tell me if it's against Shadow.
This is not against Shadow, no.
Okay.
I got a 21.
From the magic dogs.
I got a 21. Finally, it's a nat 20 plus 1.
I got
Wow.
Hey! I got a
Fun.
16.
I finally got a good roll.
On a D16, I rolled really well.
You know what?
On a
You know,
D20,
I'll
it's slightly
I'll
above
use
that.
my inspiration to roll that again.
Okay.
If we get something better.
Hell yeah, do
Oh, I
it.
got another 8.
All right.
Oh.
So both Theodric and Jess, the two of you slip into sleep quite easily, quite comfortably. And you go into a dreamless slumber. Feanor, on the other hand, as you get ready for the night, you have a couple of dogs that are sitting on the ground beside you. And they are dozing, and they don't seem to be distracted by anything. However, Feanor, you notice that there is rustling around outside. As a giant lumbering figure scratches along the side, you can hear like big sniffs, and you can hear as a bear, and it's not just one, but many bears seem to be wandering around outside in the main areas in the gardens. You're eventually able to get to sleep, but I'm gonna have you make a Constitution saving throw for me.
A 17.
17. You're able to get all of the rest that you needed, the 4 hours that you are, but it is pretty restless as the bears. But at some point, as you begin to drift off into your thoughts, you no longer hear the bears. But before you know it, the next day rolls around, and with that, a number of Beornings have made their way back to Beorn's house, all dressed in black, all in their solemn wear, and Beorn, before all three of you are able to make your way to the burial site within the grounds of Beorn's house, he approaches you, and he looks just the same as always, but he looks to you, and he pulls you over to the side, the three of you, and he says, "How did you enjoy the accommodations?"
It was quite good, quite comfortable, thank you. I don't know about the other two, but I slept like a baby.
Yeah,
Yeah, I slept fine.
there were a lot of bears. Like, I'm not ultimately surprised, but I wasn't expecting quite so many. Quite loud creatures, but I was still able to get enough rest.
I do apologize. The bears that are within the vicinity of my house, they know that at night they are free to partake in the honey that my honeybees have gathered. On nights such as the one last night, they very much took advantage of that. I do apologize.
Yeah, we were having a feast. I guess the bears needed one as well.
So, before we begin, I think now is a good time to tell you. I was busy last night. A dozen orcs in my land without so much as a buy or leave. Well, not that they would ever have gotten my leave to do so. I tracked them. The deaths of thousands of orcs might pay for the deaths of Maravich and Odo. I would sooner have my friends back, but at least some justice has been done. I killed them. Teared them to pieces. Their shrieks echoed through the night. Now, I also found signs. Footprints. The night speech of bird and beast. That there was a third man on that boat. As you guessed, he was a prisoner. And it looks like he escaped when the orcs attacked. He went south, and he must be found. Thank you so much for the follow. That scared the crap out of me. Oh my goodness. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Oh man.
More people follow that we can
User
scare Kyle more.
5711234. Thank you so much.
Welcome in, buddy.
Welcome in. Really appreciate it. But continuing on, Bayorn, he says, these tracks I will show you after our ceremony, after our wake is done and after the burial. But for now we have a duty. And with that, he wanders over to the burial site. And at this point, the dogs have already prepared the bodies and put them in caskets, and they have been lowered into the graves. Not to be filled yet, but they have been lowered. And there are a number of Beornings that are there. Brothers and sisters, my kin. Thank you so much for coming. And as you see, there are actually more people than there were last night. Word has gotten out, and there's probably 120, 130 Beornings that have showed up for this occasion. Some of them are warriors. Many of them just look like common folk. Maravich was a brother to me. He, even before Osred, was one of the first to pledge his allegiance to me. And he was the one who convinced me that I could become a leader of man once again. Odo, he was always strong and brave. He never doubted my counsel. But he corrected me when I was wrong. He was gentle when he needed to be. And brave, even in the face of grave danger. He was my enforcer for a reason. Maravich. He was my best friend. It's funny. In the time of lasting peace after the fall of the great dragon, to think that I would find friendship. A close friendship. A brotherly bond. Just to be ripped away from my very fingers. We will not rest until the shadow is cleared from these lands. All of the years that I have left, I pledge to you. Maravich and Odo, their deaths will not be in vain.
Hey Kyle, just letting you know the stream's kind of frozen.
Can you hear at least? I think my volume.
Well, I can hear you. I don't know about.
Okay. In the chat.
Yeah, the stream can hear.
Okay, cool. As long as the stream can hear, I don't want to mess with anything so close to the end of the session. So if you guys can hang tight, I actually did notice that a little bit earlier. But as long as the stream can hear, we'll continue on. But Beorn, he does say, are there any who wish to speak words on behalf of Odo or Merevich? Now is your time. Before we send them off in peace. Immediately, one hand raises. And a woman, a familiar face, she steps forward. It is Avila. And she says, "Yes. Odo, he was a good friend of mine. I knew him ever since we were children. Yes, he often did bully us. He was always much bigger than us and larger than us, but I always felt that he was destined for something great. And before my eyes, he became a man worthy to be a defender. Even before we came down out of the mountains, even before we became Beornings, Odo served as a sign of strength of our people. And he will not be forgotten. Merevich, my beloved. I promise you, all of the days of my life, I will never let you be forgotten. Last night, I thought about how unfair it was. Mere months away from being together, betrothed, that you were taken from me. But fate is a funny thing. I loved you. I still love you. And through my love, you will live on. You will not easily be forgotten. And I promise I will do everything in my power for us to see brighter days so that your loss wasn't for naught. You will be known as a hero to the Beornings, you and Odo. And thus I send you off with all of my love. Until we meet again, in the last days of this here Middle-earth, in the last days of my life. You will be in my heart, always. And she stands off to the side. And Beorn, he mentions, and it was the heroic deeds of both of these Beornings, doing their duty for their people. It is because of them that our lands are kept as safe as they are. And we will continue to do that. It is my understanding that in their last moments of life, they took a spear and slew their defenders, piercing both of them, both orcs, to the ground. They died heroically, and they got their vengeance. Now, they shall have their justice too. And with that, the ceremony continues. Many people, one by one, come up to the graves and they say their last words, and each one of them throwing a wildflower down into the grave upon their caskets, all the way until it is the three of you that are left. What do you do?
Is it like, is there an air of expectation for us to speak,
Not at all.
or is it okay?
I am just double checking very quickly the technical lore something before I do it.
Mhm.
Oh.
No, it's nothing bad. What could little old me do that would possibly
God.
even be bad?
Set a fire.
So people
Whoa, that is slander.
were chucking flowers on the graves.
Yep.
Theodric will also place a flower on the graves, but he's not going to say anything because he didn't know them, and it feels just fake
Mhm.
to be like, just say anything or
Absolutely.
like he's there out of respect, but he's not going to. I don't know. He feels like it's fake or just weird to speak out when he didn't know these people.
For sure.
I'll go and I'll place a flower on, and I'll just say it's barely out loud and it's more directed to the coffin
Mhm.
than at anyone else, but she just sort of like quietly says to the air, I didn't know you very well, but you protected me when I needed you. And this final task that you are carrying out, I'll see that it's done.
And with that, the ceremony closes, and many of the Beornings begin to, with their hands, pick up handfuls of dirt, and they begin to fill in the grave one by one. And after about 30 minutes of this, both graves are completely sealed, and they are off in their own small little corner of Beorn's property. There's some sadness, there's some tears, but ultimately there is an era of hope going forward. And you are tasked with this duty. Beorn, he makes his way over to you, and he exhales and he says, "Now, down to business." And with that, we're going to go ahead and end our session for today. Sweet. Good job, guys. Very happy that
Very
we could do this and get going, get you started on your next task, hunting down the escaped prisoner.
So mysterious. Can't wait.
So mysterious.
It's gonna be good.
Theodric, your thoughts on tonight's session before we do close this down for today?
He is muted, I believe.
I think
Is
so
he
too.
muted?
I was muted.
I thought we were just gathering your thoughts. To
No,
sell us
yeah,
the
no,
happy-
I was
You were
talking.
so emotional.
What's so much more? No.
You were like draped over there, like, oh, woe is
sorry.
me.
No.
Yeah, I'm just teasing, real fun.
I love Beorn. Beorn's one of my favorite characters in Lord of the Rings. So, being here, talking to him, pretty great. Feel like Theodric didn't have much to say this thing, but that's mostly because Theodric didn't want to give any sort of false sympathy and false he is sympathetic. Obviously, 2 men are dead. 2 men that these people cared about are dead, but he didn't want to give any false sympathy, any sort of, I don't know, just like unwanted or fake, I guess, emotion into it. He's kind of looking forward to hunting down a criminal. It's been a while since we had to deal with something so, I don't want to say mundane, but it kind of feels like, compared to goblins and orcs and having to find Dindy and travel through haunted woods and all that
Time
nonsense,
traveling,
and just find the man who stole the thing and say, oh, thank God. Like, I can do that. That's something we did that like at the start of this campaign. I can do that.
That was our
That's-
very first mission.
right. Also, I did find it funny when Fëanor was like, "Are you as great as warrior as you say?" And I'm like, "Do you remember Gerald from like our second, second
Yeah.
during
episode
the melee.
during the melee, who almost beat the shit out of all of us? Because I do."
He
Like-
beat the shit out of all of us. Yeah.
To be
No, no.
fair,
And
the
everybody
story-
else too. He
The-
was
the
like
s-
single-handedly just like
True.
throwing
Yeah,
people
yeah.
around.
Like
Yeah.
we got
to
him
be
in the
fair,
end.
yeah. To be fair, the stories of like Bjorn is like running through killing like hundreds
Yeah,
of orcs
exactly.
single-handedly.
Exactly, that was kind
like-
of it. It was
Uh-huh.
like if you
Even
like,
by Gerald, Gerald.
like, if you remember Gerald, like Gerald's Gerald, this is Bjorn, who's
Yes.
like the
Well-
lord of all the Beornings. So
Okay,
you know
Fëanor- Fëanor just met Glorfindel
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago, like 2 months ago. So like he's been seeing some of his like heroes. Literally, Glorfindel is like the guy he looks up to.
You've essentially got one of those maps you see on TV, and you just houses of the stars.
Yep,
and
houses
like,
of
yeah,
the
yeah,
stars.
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
I've got signatures from Lord Elrond and
Dodie is the
Glorfindel.
one who sells them. He's the sketchy
Yep.
salesman who's like,
Yes! And the
Next-
biggest one of all is just in the Shire, and it's
Yep.
Dragon.
exactly
no,
Frodo.
next one he wants to go is he wants to see Lord Dain Ironfoot. That's who we want to go see.
Yeah,
Gonna go see Billy
is
Connolly
that?
himself.
make your way over to Erebor. He's the king of Erebor. He's the Lonely Mountain. So he's the
Oh,
one
yeah.
who took over for Thorin when he died. So
He was the one played by Billy Connolly in the movies who rode the
I
battle
haven't
goat.
seen the movies.
He rode a giant goat into battle. In it.
Was
no,
it a
no,
pig?
he
was
was
a
pig.
giant pig.
And
Yeah.
there's a story
That's
behind
right.
that. The pig apparently
Oh my
was
God.
a pig on set, and it was just like a set pig that like people were just like, oh, he's so cute, he's so great, and so they CG'd him as a giant war boar.
That's great
They also
Oh,
CG'd
well.
the actor, but so that's good.
because
Yeah.
Billy
This
Connolly's
is-
not actually. full.
This is a PSA
Right.
to anyone who is watching who is not a Lord of the Rings fan. Don't get into a Lord of the Rings fan. Like
Oh.
don't get a Lord of the Rings fan started. That's my PSA. Don't do
Well,
it.
you've
They have- there's
definitely
so
joined the
much
wrong
trivia
campaign. Like
and
you've.
fun facts.
Why are
It's
you here
incredible.
then? Like.
Because I
That's what
love
we're here
D&D,
for.
guys.
No,
I
you're
love
one
it.
of us now. You're stuck in this.
Yeah, you,
I have
you
not
don't-
read the books. I have
you do
not
not
seen
get
the
a
movies.
choice.
But I know so much trivia. Why?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. You're learning more about the world that I love so
Exactly.
much.
It's phenomenal.
Oh my god.
great.
Is it
He
too late to
literally,
find out?
he literally, look, let me put it this way. Lord Dain Ironfoot, he looks out at all the elves who are like, we want our gems at the Battle of Five Armies. And he goes, would you all mind just pissing off?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like to Thranduil's face.
This
like,
is a
yeah.
family-friendly stream.
No, it's not. We
Yeah.
murder people here.
Oh my god. We haven't
We,
murdered
we
anyone.
congratulate, we
We haven't murdered
congratulated,
anyone in at
we
least one session.
congratulated a dude for impaling 2 orcs with 1 spear.
Yeah, but that's awesome.
Like, we're relatively friendly, family friendly.
With Fëanor at the
No
thing,
gore.
Yes.
Minimal
At the,
cursing.
I was trying to find it. I was trying to see if I could do elf lights yet or not, but no, I cannot.
Yeah, not quite.
um,
Not quite.
No, I've got to wait
The
till the
stinging
end
arrow
of this
now.
adventure. Yeah, at the end of this adventuring arc, then I get them.
Mhm.
But yeah, Fëanor just would have whittled out a little bear statuette or like a little thing holding a sword, like on its chest, like a man with a bear head, more or less.
That's
But
very
yeah,
cool.
no. It was cool. It was fun being able to explore like Bjorn's lands. Well, not really, but like being able to talk to Bjorn and to be there.
Mhm.
Absolute befuddlement with the sheep. What is going on? He is more horrified by that than the fact that he could have potentially time traveled.
If you guys are horrified by that, if you actually read The Hobbit, like the description of like when Bilbo and company like get to like Beorn's house, and just like the ridiculousness. Like, it really alludes to the fact that, like, The Hobbit was a children's story. Like, it's, like,
Yeah.
very, very magical, like, whimsical. Like, it's very much compared to, like, The Lord of the Rings, and it's so beautiful. And so, like, I love the fact that I can take advantage of them as their own NPCs, and I just thought it was perfect, because those sheep are the servers, but they were serving sheep, and
That was not planned, by the
No.
way.
no, I can imagine.
That was not planned at all.
Well, look, they're sheep on a property. They'd be providing wool and meat when their time comes. So,
True. Good.
This is like a real Milliways sort of paradox. If you get that reference, you're goated. But anyway, yeah.
I am not a goat. Apparently, I'm more of a sheep.
Kyle played mini sheep this session.
In the book / TV show / movie, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
It's been years.
there's a restaurant called Milliways. It's a restaurant at the end of the universe, and in it, they have meat who actually wants to be eaten and is capable of telling you so. So when you meet the meat, they just bring out like a live pig that's recommends you cuts of itself and like goes through the process. Like
That's very Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
it is
like,
extremely Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's like extremely morbid, but yeah, that fits the
Douglas Adams was a genius.
I was too young, I think, to understand.
No, it's great. If you haven't read the books,